Hey everyone, and welcome to the Top and Go update. There wasn't any voting this week since we released the 4th edition of Commalicious instead of the Arcanist video that was going to be released this week. Next week is spring break, and I'm afraid I'm just going to have to take a little bit of a rest this next week. But not to fret, Brianna will be bringing us a Commanding on a Budget video this next week. And if you really want your other 99 fix, then you can check out some of these, as they are some of my favorite reruns. And then the week after next, we're going to have the Arcanist video and everything else will return to the normal schedule. In other cool news, I was a guest star on this week's episode of CommanderCast. If you don't know what CommanderCast is, it's a website with tons of different articles and a podcast series about Commander. CommanderCast focuses on 3 primary pillars: community, strategy, and technology. The weekly podcast is a great listen if you really want to get even more of a Commander fix. I got to cast with William Hernandez, the host of the show, as well as Durfington, the genius behind Durdling Around. We talked about From the Vault 20, counterspell strategies, and an awesome retro set review of Tempest. I'll leave a link to CommanderCast down in the description below, as well as a link to the Durdling Around cartoon. Check them both out. Last week we asked you guys, how do you feel about staples such as Sensei's Divining Top, Soul Ring, Greaves, and such? We got a pretty huge response from you guys. Some of you said staples are just boring and shouldn't be played in general, while others of you said staples are great. Let's take a look at one comment that I particularly liked. MTG Boy 12 wrote, "I think that staples are like fine wine. One sip is oh so sweet, but drinking a whole bottle is a bit too much. The same applies with staples. Sure, Lightning Greaves are really cool and awesome on creatures, and Soul Ring provides great mana fixing, but they shouldn't just be jammed into every commander deck because they're good." Our man Matt Rabia was inspired by this subject to take a look at all the other 99 decks and find what cards were truly staples according to how many times they appeared in decks on the channel. Let's take a look at his findings. Starting off with the colorless cards, we'll have a list of the ones most played right here. With a whopping 13 copies, Sensei's Divining Top is the most played colorless card in decks on the channel. That's not entirely surprising since Sensei's Divining Top is considered by some to be one of the best cards in the format. I mean, shoot, we named the channel after it. Next up, we have a 4-way tie with white. I think it's interesting because I play all 4 of these cards except for Oblivion Ring. It's not that Oblivion Ring is a bad card, but I've just never really been a big fan of it. So it's interesting to see that it's one of the white staples on the channel, but it's not a card that I usually play in my decks. Next up, we have the top played blue cards. At number 1, with 7 copies, is Phyrexian Metamorph. This is also interesting, but not too surprising, since Phyrexian Metamorph is a great clone that can copy both creatures and artifacts. Following that, we have black. Surprise, surprise, the most played black staple on the channel is Demonic Tutor. This isn't too surprising, since Demonic Tutor is one of the best tutors in the format. Next up, we have another 4-way tie with red. My favorite of these cards is Kiki Jiki. I just love Kiki Jiki. He was in my first deck when I first built it, and he's been there ever since. We have green next. With green, the most played cards was a tie between Eternal Witness and Beast Within. Both are great cards, and both are seeing a lot of play, and both really deserve it. As far as gold cards go, there's only one that really stuck out as being played a lot, and that was Mystic Snake. This is probably because a lot of the decks on the channel have blue and green in them, and Mystic Snake is a great blue-green staple. And finally, let's take a look at the most played lands on the channel. The most played lands were the check lands, or the dual lands that were printed in the core sets. This is not too surprising, as these cards are really easy to get a hold of, and they're actually really good lands. It's interesting looking at it all lined up like this, since we get to look at cards that aren't really considered staples as much, but are played a lot still. Staples seem like something that we just may not be able to escape. Our question from this week comes from a viewer named, and he asks, if you're going to introduce a new player to the Commander format, what are the best pieces of advice that you'd give them? Leave your response down in the comment section below. If you have a question that you'd like to have asked on the Top and Go update, leave it on our Facebook, our Twitter, YouTube, or on our new Tumblr page. That's right, a lot of you guys said that you guys would love to see a Tumblr page for Top and Go Productions. And now it's here. Just click on the link in the description. It's still a work in progress, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, that's it for this Top and Go update. I'm Carson with Top and Go Productions, and as always, thanks for watching.